Expressive interfaces and emotional design. Designers use a number of features to make an interface expressive. Emojis, sound, colors, shapes, icon, and virtual agent are used to 1. Create an emotional connection or feelings with the user. For instance, warmth or sadness. And or 2. Elicit certain kinds of emotional responses in users, such as feelings and ease, comfort, and happiness. In the early days, emotional icons were used to indicate the current state of a computer or a phone, notably when it was waking up or being rebooted. A classic from the 1980s was the Happy Mac icon that appeared on the screen of the Apple computer whenever the machine was booted. You can see it in Figure 6.5a. The smiling icon conveyed a sense of friendliness, inviting the user to feel at ease and even smile back. The appearance of the icon on the screen was also meant to be reassuring, indicating that the computer was working. After being in use for nearly 20 years, the Happen and Sad Mac icon were laid to rest. Apple now uses more impersonal but aesthetically pleasing forms of feedback to indicate a process for which the user needs to wait, such as starting up, busy, not working, or downloading. This includes a spinning colorful beach ball, see in Figure 6.5b, and a moving clock indicator. Similarly, Android uses a spinning circle to show when a process is loading. Other way of conveying expressivity include the following: animated icons. For example, a recycle bin expanding when a file is placed in it and paper disappearing in a puff of smoke when emptied. Sonifications indicating actions and events, such as whoosh for a window closing, scoop for file being dragged, or ding for a new email arriving. Vibrotactile feedback, such as distinct smartphones buzzes that represent specific messages from friends or family.
The style or brand conveyed by an interface in terms of the shapes, fonts, colors, and graphical elements used, and the way they are combined also influence its emotional impact. Use of imagery at the interface can result in more engaging and enjoyable experiences by Mulet and Sano 1995. A designer can also use a number of aesthetic techniques such as clean lines, balance, simplicity, white space, and texture. The benefits of having aesthetically pleasing interfaces have become more acknowledged in interaction design. For example, through beautiful graphics or a nice feel or the way what the elements have been put together, people are likely to be more tolerant and prepared to wait a few more seconds for a website to download. The Nest thermostat is more than just a smart meter. However, it was also designed to have a minimalist and aesthetically pleasing interface. It elegantly showed the temperature currently on its round face and to which temperature it has been set. This is very different from earlier generations of automatic thermostats, which were utilitarian box shapes designs with lots of complicated buttons and dull screen that provided feedback about the settings and temperature. See Figure 6. It is little wonder that Nest thermostat has been success. This is the design of the Nest thermostat. The Nest thermostat provides an automatic way of controlling home heating that is personalized to the habits and needs of the occupants. Where possible, it also works out how to save money by reducing energy consumption when not needed. The wall-mounted device does by learning what temperature the occupants prefer and when to turn the heating on off in each room by learning.
Emotional interaction. It is the reciprocal action. effect, or influence. It is a change of emotion based on the environment or based on what you see around you. For example, if you are watching a dramatic movie, which the emotion of yours was changed, it depends on what you are watching. I will explain the annoying interface. What is annoying interface? For me, in many situations, interfaces may inadvertently elicit negative emotional responses, such as anger. This typically happens when something that should be simple to use or set turns out to complex. The most common examples are remote controls, printers, digital alarm clocks, and digital TV system. Getting a printer to work with a new digital camera, trying to switch from watching a DVD to a TV channel, and changing the time on a digital alarm clock in a hotel can be terrifying. This is the unresponsive user's interface, where it lacks the user input, where it is the processing something. Things like that should be asynchronous and should be processed through the background. For example, to-do list, app that sync the server. What is normally done is to let the client send an Ajax request to the server and wait for it to respond before you grant the user's action again. Sure, there's a possibility that requests could fail due to lost connection or network intermittence, but the user interface elements to say this item didn't push through resent without interrupting the user's experience. Next is one technique that was popularized in 1990s was the use of cartoon-like companions, the assumption that a novice would feel more and ease with a friend. Appearing in the screen would encourage trying to out after listening, watching, following, and interacting with it. Like what I said, it is more about things out after you listening, watching, following, and interacting with it. Those are the emotional interaction. For example of this is Microsoft pioneered a class of agent based on software. Bob aimed the new computer user many to whom are viewed as computer public. The agents were presented as friendly character including pet dog and cutie bunny. Contrary designers. Contrary designers is all about the against all expectations. From the meaning it said, many people did not like the idea of Bob, finding the interface too cute and childish. It is too much cute and childish, which is this is also good for children's. However, Microsoft did not give up on the idea of making its interfaces friendlier and develop other kinds of agents, including the infamous Clippy, a paperclip that human-like qualities. As part of their Windows 98 operating environment, Clippy typically appeared in the bottom of the user screen whenever the same thought the user needed, helping carrying and particular tasks. It too depicted to the cartoon character with warmly personality. This time, Clippy was released as the commercial product, but not a success. Many Microsoft users found out it too distracting them from their work.
Effective computing is concerned with how to use computer to recognize and express emotions in the same way as a human do. It involves design way for people to communicate their emotional states through using novels, wearable, sensor, and creating new techniques to evaluate stress and moods by analyzing people expressions and conversations. It's also explore how effect influence personal health. More recently, emotional ALS has emerged as a research area that seeks to automate the measurements of feelings and behaviors by using ALS technology that can analyze facial expressions and voice in order to infer emotions. A number of sense in technologies can be used to achieve this, and from the data collected predicts aspect of the user behaviors. For example, what someone is most likely to buy online when feeling sad, bored, or happy. The main techniques and technologies can have been used to do this area as a following: cameras for measuring facial expressions, and by sensor placed on finger or palms to measure galvanic skin response, which is used to infer how anxious or nervous someone is indicated by an increase in their sweat. Effective expression in speech voice quality, intonation, speech loudness, and rhyme. Body movements and gesture as detected by emotions capture system. Mental emotions are classified based on the facial expression that's Alfdex collects, and this is the types of emotional interactions: anger, contempt, and disgust, and fear, joy, and sadness. These emotions are indicated as a percentage of what was detected beside the emotions level above the person face appearing on a display. For example, show a level of 100% happiness and 0% for all the other categories about the woman heads on the smartphone display. The white dots overlaying her face are the market uses by the apps when modeling a face. They provide the data that determine the types of facial expressions being shown in terms of detecting the presence or absence of the following.
Effective computing and emotional. The emotional or software perceives if a driver is angry and then suggests an intervention. In addition to identifying particular emotion through facial expression, for example, joy, anger, and surprise, effective uses particular markers to detect drowsiness. Millions of viewers visit each day to watch others compete in games such as Fortnite. Some even have millions and dedicated fans. This additional layer of data has been found to enhance the spectator experience and improve the connection between the streamer and the spectator. Shows the emotional state of a streamer using the AldoFill interface. AldoFill app showing the biometric data of a streamer playing a video game source used courtesy of Catherine Investor.
Persuasive technologies and behavioral change. A diversity of techniques has been used at the interface level to draw people's attention to certain kinds of information in attempt to change what they do or think. Pump up, ads, warning, messages, reminders, prompts, personal message, and recommendation are some of the methods that are being deployed on a computer or smartphone interface. Example include Amazon one-click mechanism that make it easy to buy something on its online store, and recommender system that suggests specific books, hotels, restaurants, and so forth that a reader might want to try based on their previous purchase choices and taste. The techniques that have been developed have been referred to a persuasive design. 2009. They include enticing, cajoling, or nudging someone into doing something through the use of persuasive technology. Technology intervention have also been developed to change people's behaviors in other domains besides commerce, including safety, preventive, healthcare, fitness, personal relationships, energy consumption, and learning. Here the emphasis: fitness, personal relationship, energy, consumption, and learning. Here the emphasis on changing someone's habits or doing something that will improve an individual well-being through monitoring their behavior. An early example was Nintendo's Pokemon Pikachu device, C-Figure C.12, that was designed to motivate children into being more physically active on a consistent basis. The owner of the digital pet that lives in the device was required to walk, run, or jump each day to keep alive. The wearer received credits for each step taken, the currency being watts that could be used by Pikachu presents. 20 steps on the pedometer rewarded the player with a watt. If the owner did not exercise for a week, the virtual pet became angry and refused to play anymore. This use positive rewarding and sulking can be a powerful means of persuasion, given that children often become emotional attached to these virtual pets, especially when they start to care for them. The happy torque in a restaurant. Some using the happy torque in a restaurants. How to eat mode slowly a conscious level. Other data is collected at level. Other data is collected about how long it took them to finish their meal, the number of fork servings per minute, and the time between them. They are turned into a dashboard of groups and statistic so that the user can see each week whether their fork behavior is improvement. Nowadays, there are many kinds of mobile apps and personal tracking devices available that are intended to help people monitoring behaviors and change them based on the data collected and displayed back to them. These devices include fitness trackers, for example, and weight trackers such as smart scales, similar to Happy Fork. These devices are designed to encourage people to change their behavior by displaying dashboard of groups showing how much exercise they have done, of weight they have lost over a day's week of longer period compared with what they have done in the previous day. This result can also be compared through online leaderboards and charts with how well they have done versus their peers of friends. Other techniques employed to encourage people to exercise more or move when sedentary include goal setting reminders.
An alternative approach to collecting qualified data about the behavior automatically is to ask people to write down manually how they are feeling now or to rate their mood, and then for to reflect upon how they felt about themselves in the past. A mobile app called Echo, for example, asks people to write a subject line, rate their happiness at that moment, and add a description, photos, and or videos if they wanted to. Sporadically, the app then asks them to reflect on previous entries. An assumption was that this type of technology-mediated reflection could increase well-being and happiness. Each reflection was shown as a stock card with the time and the smiley happiness rating. People who used the Echo app reported on the many positive effects of doing so, including relieving positive experience and overcoming negative experience by writing them down. The double act of recording and reflecting enabled them to generalize from the positive experience and draw positive lessons from them. The global certain about climate change has also led a number of CHI researchers to design and evaluate various energy sensing devices that display real-time feedback. One goal is to find ways of helping people reduce their energy consumption, and it is part of a larger research agenda called Sustainable HCI. Mankoff et al. 2008, DiSalvo et al. 2010, Hedges et al. 2012. The focus is to persuade people to change their everyday habits with respect to environmental concerns such as reducing their own carbon footprint, their community's footprint, for example, a school or workplace, or an even larger organization carbon footprints, such as street, town, or country. Extensive research has shown that domestic energy use can reduce by providing households with feedback on their consumption. The frequency of feedback is considered important. Continuously or daily feedback on energy consumption has been found to yield higher savings result than monthly feedback. The type of graphical representation also has an effect. If the image used is too obvious and explicit, for instance, a finger pointing at the user, it may be perceived as too personal, blunt, or in your face, resulting in people objecting to it. In contrast, simple images, for example, an infographic or emoticon that are more anonymous but is striking and whose function is to get people's attention may be more effective. They may encourage people to reflect more on their energy use and even promote public debate about what is represented and how it affects them. However, if the image used is too abstract and implicit, other meanings may be attributed to it, such as simply being an art piece, such as an abstract painting with colored stripes that change in response to the amount of energy used, resulting in people ignoring it. The ideal may be somewhere in between. Peer pressure can also be effective where peers, parents, or child or encourage one another to turn lights off, take a shower instead of a bath, and so on. Another influencing factor is social norms. Classic study by P. Wesley Colt et al. 2007, households were shown how their energy consumption compared with their neighborhood average. Households above the average tended to decrease their consumption, but those using less electricity than average tended to increase their consumption. The study found that this boomerang effect could be counteracted by providing households with an emoticon along with numerical information.
Anthropomorphism. A number of commercial physical robots have been developed specifically to support caregiving for the elderly. Early ones were designed to be about 2 feet tall and were made from white plastic with colored parts that represented clothing or hair. An example was Zora, See Figure 6.16 developed in Belgium that was marketed as a social robot in healthcare. One was bought by a nursing home in France. Many of the patients develop an emotional attachment to their Zora robot, holding it, cawing, and even giving it kisses on the head. However, some people found this kind of robot care in a little demeaning. Certainly, it can never match that human touch and warmth that patients need, but there is no harm in the playing and entertaining and motivating role alongside human caregivers. What is an example of anthropomorphism? If you are ever met a fox in real life, chances are it's not as cunning and charismatic, and Mr. Fox doesn't cooperate with other animals that can speak a human language, assigning these human-like qualities to a fox in an example of anthropomorphism. A literacy device that pops up all the time in storytelling. It is especially prevalent in children's books, movies, and TV shows. Many the Disney's characters are anthropomorphic animals or objects. Mickey and Minnie, an anthropomorphic mice. Donald Duck is a duck. Goofy is a dog, and so on. But it's not exclusive to children's stories.